As you can see by the calendar, we're getting so much content for the All-Star weekend on Friday, starting on Friday, and throughout the entire weekend into Tuesday, really. But the big part of the content is the update to Team Affinity with all the All-Star vouchers. And SDS has already revealed a couple of them, and even without them revealing some, we can confirm some for one specific reason. So today I'm going to be going over all the Team Affinity cards that have been confirmed. So let's get into it. So the way that I've determined whether players have been confirmed for Team Affinity is two things. Number one, SDS dropped a blog this morning going over a breakdown of how all the All-Star content's going to work, and in that they revealed 4 All-Star cards, which are all in this video. So those cards are pretty much confirmed to be the Team Affinity cards, one of them being this Vlad, which we'll get into. And then another way is every single team is guaranteed at least one All-Star in the All-Star game. And so for the teams that only have one All-Star, they have to be the Team Affinity card. So that's how we have those confirmed for teams like the Marlins, the White Sox, and like the Rockies, where they only have one All-Star in the game. So we know that that's going to be the Team Affinity reward. So we're first going to go over the 4 cards that were revealed in the blog, and I have the card arts here. So first we have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. from the Blue Jays. We already have a 95 Vladdy. I originally thought this was going to be Alejandro Kirk, but I guess not. But ultimately, Vlad Jr., this card is going to look pretty similar to the Pipeline Past 95 Chase card, but ultimately he's going to be better. He's going to be a 97 overall. These cards are probably going to be based more on the live series versions, so it might have different splits than the Pipeline Past, that being much better against lefties and righties. As you can see here, defensively he'll be, in the silver range with a good arm, and he can play first and third. So, good. I mean, these are all going to be free cards that you can get. I already have all 30 vouchers, of course. I'm going to be getting all 30 of these cards right off the rip, but ultimately, Vlad cards are always great. Next up, we have Jacob Wilson, and 2 things. Number one, sorry about the blurry card. The only way we could get this Jacob Wilson card into my presentation was from the blog post, and it's like a really zoomed out version, so there's nothing I can do about that. But also, if you guys see it's a 97 overall when it's actually a 96, I made all of these models on ShowZone before these cards were even released in the blog. So ultimately, these Team Affinity cards are going to be either 96s or 97s. So just ignore the overall rating. But ultimately, Jacob Wilson, he also has a 93, but I thought it was going to be him for the A's because Brent Rooker was the Team Affinity 2 card, and he's their only other All-Star. So it wouldn't make sense for Brent Rooker to get 2 Team Affinity cards. It's probably why they gave it to Jacob Wilson. He's going to look pretty similar to the Spotlight card from May. He's going to have insane contact vision and clutch. He's going to have meh power, but he'll have a good arm and can play short. Next up, we have Elly De La Cruz. Now, Elly cards are always great in this game. We had that 90 overall free cover card. This is going to be so much better than the 90 overall. He's going to destroy righties. He probably will be maybe 80s, but probably low 90s versus lefties, but that's all you really need with Elly cards. He's going to be a switch hitter. He's going to be able to play short and third with elite defense and arm strength, and he's going to be able to steal any bag that you want. Elly cards are always great in this game. And then the last one that was in the blog post was Paul Skenes, another cover athlete, and he actually just got the 94, so we're going to be moving up to a 96. I changed the pitch mix for this Paul Skenes. I think it would be better if he had a sinker and a splitter. They replaced the sinker with the splitter for the cover card, but ultimately, regardless of the pitch mix, I think Paul Skenes will be a great card. 110, 100 hits in case prime, 117 clutch. I'm not too sure how the pitching overall system works, so these attributes might be a little too juiced, in all honesty, for a 96, now that I'm looking back on it. But regardless, Paul Skenes, he's going to be a great card, and hopefully he gets the splitter and the sinker. Now let's move on to teams that only have one All-Star representative in the game. And starting with Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn has had a great year for the Orioles, of course. DH primary because that's what he was voted in as for the All-Star game, but regardless, he'll play first, left, and right at silver defense with pretty solid speed, in all honesty. I think he's going to be very good against righties with good contact versus lefties. I don't think he's going to have good power versus lefties. Good clutch as well. This is going to be primarily a left-handed hitter to face righties, but is still going to be serviceable against lefties and won't be terrible at defense. Byron Buxton is your lone representative of the Minnesota Twins. I feel like they could have had another All-Star being Joe Ryan, and then Joe Ryan probably would have been this Team Affinity reward given the Byron Buxton in the Moonshot collection. But anyway, Byron Buxton is going to be a great card. His cards are always awesome in this game. He has such a smooth swing. His swing is so good in this game. This card is going to be better than the Moonshot card because his defense is going to be much improved. He'll also have really good speed, and I think he'll probably be a better hitter, not by much though, but he'll still have double barrel power. And his power should be in the hundreds for both. He'll have much better contact, or not much better. His contact on the Moonshot card was pretty good, but probably in the high hundreds and then high 90s for right and left. But ultimately, Buxton cards are just always great with a sweet swing. The lone representative for the Chicago White Sox is Shane Smith. Ultimately, obviously this guy, if you just look at his stats, doesn't really deserve to be an all-star, but he's probably the best pick from the White Sox. Doesn't knock on, let's just not knock on a season and, let him enjoy it. But ultimately, Shane Smith, four-seam slider, cutter, sinker, that's a great pitch mix. Could have used a fifth pitch of like a circle change, but he already has slider, cutter, sinker, so that's, very solid. He's going to be a starter, so he's not a reliever, but ultimately, he gives you the pitches that you need, and I think that he won't be that amazing, given it's the White Sox, and he's probably the worst all-star in the all-star game, but ultimately, I think he'll be a pretty solid starting pitcher, as long as his attributes aren't really tanked. The lone all-star from the Texas Rangers is Jacob deGrom. I loved the Egg Hunt Jacob deGrom card. We're going to have a lot of players with previous collection rewards be Team Affinity rewards, which is kind of interesting. But ultimately, Jacob deGrom cards, everyone remembers his all-star card from MLB The Show 21. That was a 99 overall, though, when there were no other 99s in the game for starters. But that's what made that card so overpowered. But anyway, I think the Rangers all-star deGrom will be pretty solid. He'll just be a juiced up version of the Egg Hunt card, which I really liked. 109, 111 per nines, 111 clutch. He's probably gonna have outlier in the four seam. I don't think he's throwing like 102 anymore. I think he's touching like 98, 99. But they kind of just gave it to the Egg Hunt card, so they might just do the same thing for the All-Star deGrom. Who knows? But even if he doesn't have outlier, he'll still be a really good card with a good pitch mix. The only All-Star from the Angels is Yusei Kikuchi. I think they could have had another All-Star. I think Zach Neto had a pretty good case, but the infielders for the American League were loaded. So ultimately, not going to be easy to get in for Zach Neto. But regardless, Yusei Kikuchi definitely deserves an All-Star appearance. His stats are really underrated in the MLB this season. Even if he wasn't on the Angels, I think he had a great shot at the game. But his All-Star card is probably not going to be that good. His cards aren't ever really that good in this game. He's got the Joe random pitch mix. It's what I call just fastball, slider, curve change. It's never good in this game unless you're like a Jacob Mizorowski and you have outlier on the four seam and the slider. It's not a great pitch mix, in all honesty, and he's probably not going to have the best per nines, but cool for him to be in the All-Star game. Next we have Kyle Stowers, I think it's Stowers, of the Miami Marlins. The Marlins have been really good recently. They're getting close to 500, which is pretty impressive for that team. Ultimately, Kyle Stowers has been one of the better hitters on his team. He was traded for Trevor Rogers from the Orioles. They're probably regretting that trade, even though Trevor Rogers is doing pretty solid. But Kyle Stowers, he's going to be probably a platoon bat or primarily a hitter versus righties, kind of like his spotlight card. 108, 116 versus right, 92, 80 versus left, 100 clutch. He'll be good defensively, playing right, first, left, and center with good speed though. Freddy Peralta is the only All-Star from the Brewers, which is pretty interesting. The Brewers are one of those teams that never really has superstar talent, but just has a bunch of really good players, and Freddy Peralta is a really good player. He's another guy where don't really know if his cards are ever going to be that good in MLB The Show, unless they give him a sinker, which I don't think he throws a sinker. You know, he has the Joe Random pitch mix too, but, you know, maybe he'll be pretty solid. But regardless, he'll be the team affinity reward for the Brewers. For the St. Louis Cardinals, their lone representative is Brendan Donovan. He's had an amazing season for them. He's been a very valuable second baseman. He's probably been the third best second baseman in all of baseball behind Ketel Marte and Jazz Chisholm, if you still count him at second base, even though we finally freaking moved him back there. But regardless, you know, he's had an amazing season. He had that spotlight card in May, or no, it was in April. But, you know, I really like the swing on that Brendan Donovan card, and I think that with a all-star card with high contact, pretty solid power and elite defense, and, you know, playing 6 positions, I think this card is going to be really good and bring a lot of value to teams. And last but not least, for the Colorado Rockies, somebody's got to be their all-star, even though they're trash. And Hunter Goodman actually deserves to be the backup catcher, so good for him. But see what I did there. Anyway, Mr. Hunter Saul Goodman is going to be pretty similar to his spotlight card. I mean, his spotlight card just came out 4 weeks ago. It's going to be pretty similar. I think, obviously, he'll be better because he'll be a higher overall, but not much to say. Probably similar to that card. He'll be good against righties, pretty solid against lefties. You know, he'll play catcher first, left, and right with pretty solid speed too, honestly. But, you know, Hunter Goodman, good for him. Okay, I'm going to shut up now. Good for him on a good season. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys are new here, follow me on all my social medias, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, but most importantly, make sure to subscribe on here on YouTube. So yeah, see you guys in the next one. Peace.